Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tell Me Why, a short but sharp, well, we hope sharp podcast that will inform busy Beatles people in the know or busy Beatles people who want to be in the know. So, for the next half hour, we are going to visit with one of my very favorite people in the entire Beatles world. We've known each other, believe it or not, for 20 years because I saw him for the very first time in 2005 in the Meadowlands on the main stage at the New York Fest for Beatles fans. And he inspired me to do some research I probably wouldn't have done on my own to seek out Nicky Cuff from the Sunnyside Skiffle Group to explain how they beat the Beatles at their early edition at the Empire Theater. He is not only a prolific writer, but a distinguished and noted writer. You know, there are lots of people who can write short, quick books, but to do the research and do it well is a completely different story. He has written, and I'll let him correct me if I'm wrong about this when he comes on, 14 books about the Beatles, and that may be wrong, but he started with the Beatles recording series that took you through all of the different venues that you can find Beatles albums on. There was first, my very favorite of all books, The Beatles Are Coming, which tells the whole story of the Beatles coming to America and the invasion that sparked the British invasion. Absolutely phenomenal book. It's the only one that I don't have in hardback, and I absolutely love it. This one I've used so much that I'm starting to make it fall apart because it has been part of my research since day one. Beatles for Sale on Parlophone Records. He had the double volume Beatles story on Capitol Records. These are as bad as left in my books. And there are two volumes in this story of the Beatles on Capitol Records, as well as two volumes in the coverage of the Beatles on Apple Records. He also wrote the Beatles Swan Song, Swan Records, and on in this first series. And people loved it so much that they kept saying, why don't you just focus on one of the LPs? Give us a book just about one of the LPs. And he started out, and we'll talk to him about the reason for this, with the Sgt. Pepper album and giving us a fan's perspective of the Beatles and Sgt. Pepper. And we'll talk about that in a minute. He is featured at Beatles at the Ridge. He did that for many years as the featured author. He can be found at the Fest for Beatles fans in Chicago. And when we went to Las Vegas, he was there. When we went to Los Angeles, he was there. He probably has been to other places I haven't been. You can find him every year at Abbey Road on the river and at the New Orleans Beatles Festival. He is here, there, and everywhere. Welcome, the very distinguished Bruce Spizer. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jude. And on the number of books I've actually written, it was just 17. You know what I mean?
Oh, that is impressive. That's a lot of books.
People tell me I need to do around 20, but I need to take a break right now.
Well, take a break, but you and I have talked many times about the fact that you know a lot, probably more than anyone, about bubblegum music. And I think you should do a book on that. I mean, you really could bring that to life. That's a genre that people don't respect, and it's good
Hmm.
music.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of great music there. That's the funny thing about it. I mean, people think, well, you must be obsessed with the Beatles. I'm not. And I write about the Beatles, but I like just about all types of music, except
Yeah.
for bad heavy metal and bad opera.
We took a friend of ours in Liverpool, June Furlong, to the opera one time, and I'm not a big opera fan, and neither is Rand, but we thought she would be. And so,
Mhm.
well into the first act, I look over, Rand is asleep, and June Furlong, my friend from Liverpool, is asleep. I'm the only one awake. I'm like, "Ugh, this was not a hit." Well, let's jump right into it because you have a brand new book that is just out, Beatles for Sale to Help. And this is the last in your album series. And as I said, you started out with the Beatles and Sergeant Pepper, a fan's perspective. And then you moved on to the White Album and Let It Be. And then you went back around and you caught some of the earlier albums. Let me tell the order. It was the White Album, Abbey Road, Let It Be, then Magical Mystery Tour and Yellow Submarine and the Rubber Soul and Revolver. So you kind of caught the end and then you came back around. And here we are in the middle of the action in media ray, as we literary people say, with Beatles for Sale to help. Why this order?
Well, when Sergeant Pepper was coming up the anniversary, I wrote an article, which I thought would be a really great article. And I thought, but where can I place it? I mean, I love Beatle Fan Magazine, but Beatle Fan Magazine doesn't have the color images that I felt the article needed. And I couldn't think of any place to really place it. And then I thought, well, I could put out my own magazine for about 3 seconds. And then I thought, wait a minute, I don't know a damn thing about publishing magazines, but I know how to publish a book. And so I got the idea to do the book. I wanted it out for the anniversary, which meant I needed to do it quick. And by necessity, I needed a little help from my friends. And that's when I got the idea to have some people contribute. I picked from Beatle Fan editor Bill King and Al Sussman, an associate editor, Pierce Hemmingson, who I knew to write about Canada, and
Yeah.
Frank Daniels to fill in a couple of plugs. Next thing I know, I've got 4 contributors. And then I got the idea that I wanted to get what people thought about Sergeant Pepper. Well, I called fan recollections and asked people to submit them. And it was a lot of fun. And I was shocked to find out a lot of people bonded with their parents over Sergeant Pepper, oddly enough. And just found out things I wasn't expecting. And a lot of people tell me that the fan recollections are their favorite sections of the album series books because I've used that format for all 9 books with basically what went on in the UK, what went on in the US, what went on in Canada, then what was going on in the world, which Al Sussman usually writes, what was going on in music, Al will write that, what was going on in film, either Frank or I will handle that one, and then the fan recollections. Bill King throws in his fan notes, which are always fascinating, and then maybe another feature or two, and then chapter on packaging and a chapter on how the songs were recorded. And that's been the format for all 9 books. And the other thing I'm really proud of is I've had that same group of contributors with, Bill and Al and Frank and Pierce in all 9 books, which is hard to keep a team like that together. And Jude, you created, you brought some really either long fan recollections or special chapters to several of the books and were very insightful. And once again, the bonding with your father in the case of A Hard Day's Night, where out of nowhere he takes you to the film and actually he enjoys it and asks if you want to see it again, which translated means he'd like to see it again. That was
Yeah.
a really wonderful story, Jude.
Thank you very, very much. I'm looking at the fan recollections for this book, and it's the kind of thing, guys, that you can pick up and just read a short snippet of and enjoy it. I see John Bazzini has contributed, and
Hmm.
I know that in one of the books, Mark Lewison contributed.
He did in the first one, and he sent me a picture of him where he had cut out the Sergeant Pepper items and was wearing them on a shirt. A really cute picture of Mark back in the day.
So cute. Gary Marsh is in here.
Hmm.
Have you had, I see Piers gave you a fan recollection.
Yes.
That's great. Have you had anybody that contributed to all of the books? Any fan?
One woman named Jennifer Sandy is actually in all
Yes.
the books, and Jennifer, as you know, Jennifer, really,
Oh, yeah.
really nice person. She's
Yeah.
sort of, I guess, a second generation or one and a half. I'm kind of in there, kind of a tweener, and I think she's been in every book. There might be one or two others, and then also we've had some special people like Patty Boyd and Chris O'Dell, Billy Joel, Pat Denizio, the Smithereens. So it's been some fun ones. Even a guy who was with the Royal Guardsmen, who actually his story was he was on his way to record Snoopy's Christmas in June of '67, and they started playing Sergeant Pepper, so I had to pull off on the side of the road and listen to it, and then go in the studio and do a novelty song about Snoopy and Christmas. Can you imagine
Oh,
that?
I love that. That is fantastic. Yeah, what an inspiration to go in and do that record after sitting on the side of the road and
Hmm.
hearing Sergeant Pepper. That is fantastic. Well, So you talked a little bit about my next question, which is what are some of the special things that you can't find in these other books? Because if you're looking at um, the recording series, you're
Mhm.
not going to get what Al contributes, which is the history. And Frank, tell us about what Bill King contributed this time in the new book, because it's very
Yes.
special.
Yes, Bill did an interview with Walter Shenson. And so for the Hard Day's Night book, we went ahead and edited and put in the Hard Day's Night part of his interview with Walter Shenson. And then in the Help book, we went ahead and put in his interview with Walter Shenson dealing with Help and some projects post Help, which were kind of interesting. And I really enjoyed doing that. One of the other things we've started doing with some of the later books, and I might catch up and do it with the earlier books too, I mean, earlier published books, is that we'll do a digital supplement, which anybody can download for free. You know, you don't have to buy a single thing from me. You can just download it. We did that for Let It Be because, you know, the Let It Be box set and the Peter Jackson film came out and we needed to do a supplement. And the one in this book has some fun stuff in it. For example, have you ever wondered what the comic books were that you see on Paul's music box on that organ? Well, read the supplement and you'll find out about those comic books. You know, fun things like that, stuff that were fun but didn't quite fit with the flow of the book, but felt we needed to put it somewhere. So they go in the supplement.
That's absolutely perfect. People will just love that. Now, you've already done that for this book, right?
Yes,
And
I
how
have.
can they get that if they want to?
Just go to beetle.net and then click on the book and you'll find out where you can, you know, get the supplement download for free.
Great. And they can buy the book while they're there at
Oh,
Beetle.net.
absolutely. They should buy the book while they're there, but they don't have to. It's not a requirement. And
And
if
I'm
you buy the digital edition has a supplement in it already. And if you buy the collector's edition of the book, which Jude was holding up, you know, hardcover and comes with some extras, you
yeah,
also can download the digital edition for free.
some extras. Look at this. You get a poster. You get a lot of extras actually, and a really cool bookmark as well. But tell them about the lady that does your artistic layout because the
Oh, yes. The
book,
other thing I'm also very fortunate with, I've had the same graphic designer, Diana Thornton of Crescent Music Services I've been working with Diana, I guess, 26, 27 years on every single book I've done.
that's amazing.
And yeah, and it's gotten to the point where because we've done so many books together, you know, I can send her something and say, Diana, I'd like to see these four images on the page. I haven't a clue as to how to lay them out. And then I'll get something back from her. Oh, you mean like this? It's pretty much perfect. We may tweak it slightly, but I mean, it's just been a pleasure to work with her all these years.
She's extremely talented, extremely talented. Now, earlier today, you and I were chatting about the fact that if you ask people what their favorite Beatles album is, a lot of people are going to say the White Album, or
Hmm.
people will say Sergeant Pepper's. And yeah, for me, it is A Hard Day's Night and Help.
Hmm.
But rarely do you ever get anyone saying Beatles for Sale. It's really
No
one
one.
of the most underrated albums ever. Why is that? Because it's great, right?
Well, I think the problem was that when the album came out, it got great reviews. But you know, you get this revisionist history and you say, okay, well, they started off and they had six covers on the first two albums. Boy, A Hard Day's Night, all Lennon McCartney. And then Beatles for Sale, oh my God, they've regressed. They have six covers on the album. Oh, how horrible. You know, and look at the cover. Oh, they look like they're tired. George's hair standing up like a turnip. You know, oh, this just, you know, this is a misfire. It's going backwards. Fact of the matter is, it's a great album. For the first time, I mean, you look at the songs, you know, and you've got things that are very different. You know, they start off with a bit of a downer, you know, No Reply, and then you've got, you know, I'm a Loser and Baby in Black. But these are terrific songs, and the cover versions. You know, I mean, Paul on Kansas City, John on Rock and Roll Music, John and Paul on the Buddy Holly song, you know, Words of Love. I mean, there's just so much to enjoy about these cover versions. The two Carl Perkins songs, I mean, with Ringo and George on lead. Come on, you know, this is a great album.
Yeah,
Any other group had done this album, this would have been the pinnacle of their career.
I
Yet
know.
it doesn't get the respect it deserves, and even Help to a certain extent. You know, you mentioned Help, but most people they forget about Help when they're listing the, you know, the big five. Sergeant Pepper, Rubber Soul, Revolver, the White Album, Abbey Road, and they pretty much stop there, and they forget how brilliant those early albums are. Now, Beatles for Sale and Help were kind of the bridge from that first phase of Beatlemania with Up to a Hard Day's Night and including, and right before their more mature period when you get to Rubber Soul and Revolver. But what a bridge it is.
Yeah, it is. And they so loved and respected country and Western music, and it definitely has that flavor. I mean, even songs that aren't overtly country and Western have that inspiration.
Yes.
And they did it so cleverly and so uniquely. It's not a copy, it's an interpretation of
Yeah.
country and Western.
I know we were talking about one of your favorite songs and one that many people really love. I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. And John wrote it as well. Let's get something for Ringo. I'll write something, this little country western song and country western type theme, love gone wrong type thing. But and he all of a sudden, John was like, this song's too personal for me to give to Ringo. I'm going to keep it. And he did.
Yeah,
John recorded that song.
yeah,
He
it is.
sang the lead on it, didn't give it to Ringo.
No, and thank goodness. I mean, I love Ringo. I love his voice. I love the sound. Like when Ringo sings Good Night, Ringo is the right person to sing Good Night. It's John's song, but he's the right person to sing it. And it makes you really feel the emotion in the song. But John needed to sing I Don't Want to Spoil the Party.
Yes, definitely.
It is the right person. It's his theme. I'm going to keep my mouth shut because bitter John Lennon. I every time I say something, someone's offended. So I'm not going to spoil the party. So I'll just go. You know, and
Yeah.
it's such a great song. Well, I found out many things from this book that I did not find out in the other books. So if you're out there thinking, well, I've got all of Bruce's first book, so why do I need to buy this new series? Isn't he saying the same thing? He's not. He's saying something new and completely different. Frank and Al and Piers and Bill, notwithstanding, Bruce has something brand new to say. So we're just going to give them a couple of quick examples. For example, No Reply. What is something new that is uncovered about No Reply in this
Yeah,
book?
I mean, John wrote it on the vacation, kind of when the Beatles were taking a break before they were going to rush back in the studio, see if they could finish A Hard Day's Night. And they actually re did a quick recording of it, but Ringo wasn't there. And so it wasn't all that serious. And when you listen to it on Anthology, they're cracking up through the song. But basically, it didn't have a bridge, it needed work. But this was something, John took a while to finish this song, which is a little unusual because, once the Beatles were on a roll, they pretty much, John would write it and he'd want to record it the next day. And that became an extreme with a song like Ballad of John and Yoko, or in his solo career, same thing with Instant Karma. So
Yeah.
this was one that took a little while to get done.
Yeah, he's out on that so-called yacht, which is really like a glorified fishing boat.
Hmm.
They have no food on that yacht. It's George and Patty and Cynthia and John, and they're all baking. They've got the white stuff, on their noses because they're just baking. They're eating potatoes. John's desperate to have something to do, so he's reading the only book on board ship, which is Sherlock Holmes. And what is he doing? Well, now, thanks to Bruce, we know what he's doing. He's writing No Reply.
Yeah.
And that is just, I wish I'd known that when I wrote volume
Hmm.
4 because I would have had him writing No Reply. And it's really new stuff. Okay, what about, I think one of the songs that people know very little about is Leave My Kitten Alone. What can
Hmm.
you tell them about that?
It was a song by Little John Willie, and he later, well, actually, was the one who originally recorded Fever, so he had some really good R&B type stuff. But the Beatles, a lot of times, like to just find songs that would be interesting to do. And George had described it. They would go to NEMS after it was closed and go through the new records that Brian had bought. Brian's policy is he'd buy one of everything. And a lot of these records, like on London or Oriole, on it, it would say like an American recording. And that's all it took for the Beatles. If they saw an American recording, they grabbed it. So this was one that was on London, an American recording, and they liked the song and they went ahead and, knocked it out. And they recorded it at the second session for Beatles for Sale right before they went to America. Babies in Black, they did first, and then they did Leave My Kitten Alone and Mr. Moonlight. Now they came back to Mr. Moonlight, but they didn't come back to Leave My Kitten Alone. And when it came out on Anthology, some people said, maybe they should have used that because Mr. Moonlight is the worst song the Beatles ever released, which Jude and I disagree with. And if you keep hearing that, why don't you just listen to the very beginning of it and listen to the way John, perfectly on key, screams out Mr. Moonlight, and then tell me that that alone isn't worth the price of admission?
Yeah. Kid O'Toole did a presentation on the 10 best sounds of the Beatles, and John's intro to Mr. Moonlight was in her top five. It's incredible, really incredible. The thing people don't understand about Mr. Moonlight is that it was a competition song among the bands in Liverpool. Who could do it the funniest and the schmaltziest? So they really competed to see which band could perform it the best. And the Beatles were in the top two. So Swingin' Blue Jeans, they kind of ruled the roost, but the Beatles, I think, were number two. So the sound you're hearing is intentionally corny because it
Mhm.
was a competition to be humorous and funny and schmaltzy sounding. So I,
As is the song, And I think some people tell me they just don't like Paul's organ sounds cheesy on it.
it
Well,
was
get over it,
supposed to. It was
Yeah.
supposed to. That was
Yes.
the point of the contest.
Yes.
That's why they got number two. But
I
anyway,
mean, but Jude, you and I, but we love you, Mr. Moonlight, right?
we do love you, Mr. Moonlight. We do.
Okay.
And the last one, Babies in Black. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah, it was an interesting one because they were sort of influenced by James Frazier. If you've got to make a fool out of somebody in waltz tempo, and so they sort of doing it in a waltz, but it's also kind of a rocker, so it's kind of a tweener between a waltz and a rock song. And the Beatles really liked the song, and they liked doing it in concert. They would go on and say, "Well, yeah, we'll do Babies in Black." This they won't know quite what to make of it, and I think they had a lot of fun with the song because it was so different from what they normally did.
Yes, it was a breath of fresh air if anybody could hear it. But yes, what an unusual choice for the stage, but they stuck with
Yeah,
it for a long, long time.
they did.
Well, I tell you what, I know the lines are going to be long to get this book at the Fest for Beatles fans. And we will be there next weekend, the 8th through the 10th of August at the Hyatt Regency O'Hare in Chicago. Bruce has a new book. I have a new book.
Yes, you do.
And we would like to see you and meet you and speak with you and celebrate. And we are going to be doing a panel together with Chuck Gunderson, our buddy Chuck, on the 1965 North American tour. Chuck will take care of that aspect of it.
Yes.
Bruce is going to cover the writing and recording of Rubber Soul. And then I will talk about the very last UK tour. How we're going to do all of that in 45 minutes, I have no earthly idea.
We've got an hour. I've seen the
Oh,
schedule now.
good,
We have a full hour. And
good.
Friday night's going to be crazy. If you're there Friday night, come by my table early because starting at 7:30, I'm going to be one, two, three in a row. I'm going to be on a panel with Alan Pierce, who contributed to all those books in the Beatles album series. We'll talk about that. That will be followed with the presentation on My Sweet Lord with Kevin Dushek. And that's going to be, we've done it before. It's a really fun presentation. And we covered the music, the linguistics, and the law. And then Mark came up with an idea, which I didn't know about till I saw the schedule. And it says a legal matter. And that's with Jay Bergen and Bruce Spizer. So that should be a lot of fun. I have no idea what we're going to do yet, but I promise you it will be good. It will not be boring. Jay and I will probably tell some funny law war stories about the Beatles and the legal stuff. And of course, John will be his specialty. On Saturday on the main stage at 5:55, I like that, 5:55, I'll be giving my talk on Help, which will incorporate clips not only from Help, we can't show the film obviously, but we'll have great clips from it, and the James Bond film Goldfinger, because Help has a lot of parodies of Goldfinger, and with Steve Shorten's editing, we're going to go back and forth between the two films. And then, as Jude said on Sunday, we'll have that wonderful panel with Jude, who was really the brains behind that one, and Chuck and I along for the ride. It'll be a lot of fun.
It's going to
And
be,
do by all means buy Jude's book at the fest. Save up your money for both our books.
yeah, we will be looking forward to it and come celebrate with us. Saturday morning at 10:30, we're going to have the book release party for Some Forever. And they have great live music, and Susan Ryan is going to host it. We have a trivia game, lots of prizes, and so just join us. It's going to be a fantabulous weekend. And if you have not been to the Fest for Beatles fans, shame on you, because it is the most wonderful weekend. There are at least four, if not six things going on at the same time: speakers and performances and live music and an art exhibit and Beatles yoga. And there's so much to do. You will not
Yes.
be bored. It is really a great, 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 great weekend. Next weekend, the 8th through the 10th in
And
Chicago.
the other fun thing quickly to mention is you really meet some wonderful people at Beetle Fest. I met Jude there, and she met me there, and we've been great friends ever since. And so many people, all the people that contributed to the book, I met at Beetle Fest. You meet a wonderful group of people. It's like having a second family that you get together with once or twice a year, depending on whether you do one or both the fests.
You do. It just, they're people that you can rely on and call anytime. We're talking about Jennifer Sandy, met her at a fest. We've
Hmm.
become great friends.
Good Tom Frangione, Al Sussman,
There you go.
Karen, just wonderful people.
Janet Davis, just really sweet,
Ted
wonderful.
O'Toole. I mean, just so many
Oh,
people we know for years and years and
Ken
years.
Rock. Yeah, it is a great group. We hope to see you there. We really do. Well, Bruce, give us our closing quote from Mr. Lennon. If you had to pick a favorite Lennon quote, and there are several that have been used many times, so give us something new and refreshing from John Lennon.
Oh my, I'm just going to say that in my high school yearbook, I used the line from Across the Universe, of words are falling off, that whole sequence. And that's what I used, quoting from Across the Universe. I love that song. I don't understand why John didn't think it was well recorded. It was. And John went ahead and tried to do it again during the Get Back sessions, and it was horrible. He was made it a heavy type song. It didn't work. But I love there's so many versions of Across the Universe. I love every one except for the official one on the Let It Be album. All the
Well,
other ones that have come out over the years are better.
wow, that's
But I
amazing.
love that song.
When I was teaching literature, I used to say that um, most songs, are rather wounded poems that lean on music for support.
Hmm.
You go back and read Across the Universe, it does not need the music. The
Oh, I mean,
imagery,
it's unlimitless, undying love, it shines upon me like a million suns. I mean, that was what I put in the yearbook. It
yeah,
was
endless
perfect.
rain into a paper cup. You see this in
Yes.
a paper cup, an endless rain. It's
Yes.
splashing, and it is a great, great song. You guys check it out. That's a perfect quote. Well, Bruce and I are packing, and we are getting ready to head to Chicago. We hope to see each and every one of you there. But if not, make sure that you get Beatles for Sale to Help. You get the poster, you get a bookmark, you get so much new information. And all of the things that Bruce talked about, from Frank Daniels, Al Sussman, Pierce Hemmingson, Bill King. And one quick plug for Bill King: I am going to have a copy of Bill's new book, Large Time, at my table, and I'm going to have order forms if you would like to order Bill's book. It is the story of Southern rock and roll, amazing interviews and stories from bands that you've known and loved all these years. And so come by and browse through Bill's book and order a copy, and he'll be
That's
glad.
a great idea. And then obviously, if you can't come to the fest, or even if you can, check out our websites. Mine's very easy. It's just beetle.net. You can go there, you can order the books, and you order from the website. I sign them. If you want them personalized, I'll do that. So if you can't see me at the fest, but you'd like a book personalized, go to beetle.net. And that's the way you can do it. You can buy the regular edition, the collector's edition with the goodies, the digital edition, whatever you want. But check it out. I think you'll enjoy them. I mean, we guarantee it. Jude and I work hard on our books. And what we do is we make our books something that if we went to a store, this is what we would want to buy and read. And that's the approach that I know Jude takes and I've always taken.
Yeah,
Make it something that I would want. And we know there are other people out there that are like us and love the Beatles.
that's right. Well, thank you, everybody. And until we see you in person next week, we shall say ta and shine on.